want to win with the Yin? Well, then keep watching. The Yin Brotherhood are the best infantry faction in Twilight Imperium 4th edition. These self-destructive leper cultists may look like they walked off of a death album, but they remain my personal favorite faction to play as. The Yin Brotherhood are typically regulated to the bottom rungs of the tier list, but this placement is unwarranted. I'll concede that they're a difficult faction to play as, but in the right hands, they are incredibly strong. Here is the definitive guide to playing and most importantly winning with the Yin Brotherhood. Let's begin this erudite analysis by looking at their faction sheet. They have two primary faction abilities. First, Indoctrination. At the start of a ground combat, you may spend 2 influence to replace one of your opponent's participating infantry with 1 infantry from your reinforcements. This is a potent ability for a number of reasons. Firstly, it can tilt any ground combat in your favor, and will force your opponents to really commit if they want to take one of your planets, thus dissuading them from doing so. Deterrence is where the Yin Brotherhood shines. I will elaborate on this more later in the video. Their second ability is Devotion. After each space battle round, you may destroy one of your cruisers or destroyers in the active system to produce 1 hit and assign it to one of your opponent's ships in that system. Assign being the key word here. On the surface, this ability looks bad since you're destroying your own plastic, but upon further probing, we see the greatness of this ability. Destroyers and cruisers are cheap to build, especially since you're the Yin who start with Sarween tools. One little destroyer that costs 1, or with Sarween 0, can take down a Dreadnought which costs 4, or a War Sun that costs 12, or a carrier that's carrying infantry or fighters essential for the invasion. The enemy needs to be extremely careful when attacking you. Any one of their capital ships is just 1 sustained damage away from being taken out. Yin are the leper that nobody wants to touch, but in TI4 that's a good thing. Now let's talk about their leaders. Brother Milor works synergistically with the aforementioned ability. After a player's unit is destroyed, you may exhaust this card to allow that player to place 2 fighters in the destroyed unit's system if it was a ship, or 2 infantry on the planet if it was a ground force. This grants you more opportunities to use Devotion and gives your fleets more staying power. Commander, Brother Omar, is unlocked just by using one of their faction abilities. He reads, "This card satisfies a green tech prerequisite. When you research a technology owned by another player, you may return one of your infantry to your reinforcements to ignore all of its prerequisites." This is huge. It's a guaranteed green tech skip, and it allows you to get any tech that any other player has for only 1 infantry. If you're playing with 4 or more people, chances are there will always be a tech you can get. It also gives you the freedom to go down the yellow and green tech paths while still being able to research those crucial blue techs that are essential in the late game. Alright, now let's talk about their hero. Danelle of the 10th, Quantum Dissemination. Action. Commit up to 3 infantry from your reinforcements to any non-home planets and resolve invasions on those planets. Players cannot use Space Cannon against those units. Then, purge this card. So basically pick 1, 2, or 3 lightly defended or undefended planets, and you get them basically for free. If the opponent has infantry, you simply use your Indoctrinate ability. This is great for when you only need 1 or 2 more planets to score an objective, or to prevent another player from doing so. I would rate this hero an 8 out of 10. Useful, but not game-changing. Yin's Mech, called Moyin's Ashes, reads, "Deploy. When you use your Indoctrination faction ability, you may spend 1 additional influence to replace your opponent's unit with 1 mech instead of 1 infantry. This mech is excellent. Taking away one of their infantry and putting down a mech is such a massive swing in your favor. The enemy not knowing if you're going to indoctrinate yourself a mech or not is such a good deterrence and forces them to either overcommit or risk losing the ground combat. Yin has 2 faction abilities, Yin Spinner, a green with 2 green prereqs, and Impulse Core, a yellow with 2 prereqs. Impulse Core reads, "At the start of a space combat, you may destroy one of your cruisers or destroyers in the active system to produce 1 hit against your opponent's ships. That hit must be assigned by your opponent to one of their non-fighter ships if able." So you may notice that this sounds familiar to their faction ability, but in reverse. You get to destroy the ship before a round of ground combat, which is better, but your opponent gets to assign that hit, which makes it worse. But still a good tech, since it's easy to get since you can start with a yellow tech, and if you force your opponent to use sustained damage at the start of the combat round, that unit is doomed when the round ends, granted that you still have a cruiser or destroyer remaining. Then we have Yin Spinner. After you produce units, place up to 2 infantry from your reinforcements on any planet you control or in any space area that contains one or more of your ships. Working in conjunction with Yin's other abilities, this faction tech has massive utility. Due to Yin's destructive playstyle, you will be producing frequently, to say the least. Combined with Sarween tools, you can get 4 free infantry from every production. It's easy to get this tech early because your commander gives you a green tech skip, and your commander can be unlocked easily just by using your faction ability once. Get this one as early as possible and amass those infantry throughout the game. Their promissory note, Greyfire Mutagen, is easily traded and reads, at the start of a ground combat against 2 or more ground forces that are not controlled by the Yin player, replace one of your opponent's infantry with 1 infantry from your reinforcements. Then, return this card to the Yin player. This is pure money. Hand it off for trade goods as often as you can. It can't hurt you. Yin only has 2 commodities, so this can really help balance them out in that regard. Now it's time to talk about the IGBM, Intergalactic Ballistic Missile, aka the Van Hague, Yin's flagship. It has a cost of 8, a movement value of 1, in combat it rolls 9 times 2, and has a capacity of 3. Not that any of that shit matters compared to its ability. It has sustained damage, and if the ship is destroyed, destroy all the ships in the system. The Van Hague is the most important piece of plastic on the game board in any TI4 game. I will discuss this in greater detail in the general strategy portion of the video. Yin start with one 4/4 home planet in their home system. Overall, they have a strong and versatile start, with plenty of influence to use their indoctrination ability, not to mention their perfect expansion starting fleet. 2 carriers, 1 destroyer, 4 fighters, 4 infantry, and 1 space dock. You can expand in 2 directions, take and explore 4 planets, and extract maximum value out of your first turn. Now let's discuss Yin's first round, general strategy, and objectives. Warfare is an ideal first choice to spread across the galaxy, which your starting fleet is well suited for. You always want to play into your strengths as a rule in Twilight Imperium. Yin have plenty of influence, so leadership is always a reliable choice. Diplomacy allows Yin to have a huge start by being able to ready up their newly claimed planets, while also leaving room to use secondaries like tech or leadership or warfare. That is, if you can't grab any of them. I would always prioritize expansion. That's what Yin does best, spreading like a plague. Build up as many infantry as you can on as many planets as you can. Force the enemy to take huge losses if they want to mess with you. Speaking of which, the Yin Brotherhood are one of, if not the best, Mechatol Rex faction. Either them or Federation of Soul. The combination of the Van Hague in the space area and a multiplying horde of infantry ready to replace invading forces with your own, or a mech, is as close to an impenetrable combo as you can get in TI4. Get a PDS down on Mechatol as fast as you can, because their only vulnerabilities are Bombardment and X-89 Bacterial Weapon. If your opponent has a War Sun on the board, they will be hesitant to move it in range of your flagship, so the Yin have a counter to the most deadly unit in the game. The Yin Brotherhood can easily score the following objectives: diversify research, explore deep space, sway the council, engineer a marvel, manipulate galactic law, and achieve supremacy. So now that we've discussed Yin's strengths, let's look at their weaknesses. First of all, their 2 commodities are pitiful, especially since players won't be too keen on trading with you anyway. They will certainly struggle with any of the trade good related objectives. Their other main weakness is direct war. They are a powerful infantry and Mechatol Rex faction, but up against heavy hitting war factions like the L1 Minenet, Barony of Letnev, or the Volwraith Cabal who can capture their units, they are vulnerable, especially in space combat. Yin aren't a war faction. You have to pick your battles and rely on deterrence and mutually assured destruction to prevent war from even happening in the first place. Moving on, let's look at what tech path the Yin should follow. Here is the exact tech path I recommend. First, Neural Motivator, then Anti-Mass Deflectors, Gravity Drive, Yin Spinner, Fleet Logistics, Deactive Animators, and Lightwave Deflectors. Neural Motivator is best researched first, so you can be picking additional action cards the rest of the game. Flank Speed is especially deadly in the hands of the Yin. Remember, you had that green tech skip from your commander, which lets you get Yin Spinner early. Gravity Drive makes the Van Hague mobile enough to be threatening, and Deactive Animators will help you be even more dominant in ground combat. In conclusion, the Yin Brotherhood are one of the most fun factions to play as because they have a playstyle that is uniquely their own. The game lists them as being low in complexity, but I would say they're one of the tougher factions for a beginner to play as because they're playing a different game, so to speak, as everyone else on the board. So next time you play TI4, pick the Yin Brotherhood and spread that horrific space disease all the way to victory. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.